Darren Muji been wheeling and dealing, boy. Kids flying, limousine riding. Come on now, jet stealing, wheeling, dealing. All right. He has been doing some moves. All right. Is there one more move to be made? One or two? For the wide receiver room? Who knows? We got a finale tomorrow. The Battle of the Flight. All right. Eagles or Jets. Who's flying? Who is the king? The king of the sky. And then, of course, all right, moves were already made, right? So we got to talk about the moves of the past. Look ahead toward moves of the future with Darren Moods. All right, let's go. Right now, it's Boy Green meets Woody.
Can you guys help us get a jet champ here? Yeah, going.
Oh.
Okay, right, yeah. Come on in.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, let's go! J-E-T-S, let's go! Let's go! There you go, Woody!
Third Party Thursday.
Chris joining us here on the program with a capital P here on the program.
Jake Asman, come on down. How you doing, good sir?
Wow, what an intro. I mean, Boy Green is known for having the intro, but Woody, that was unreal, man. Thanks for the kind words, son.
We are men of many names.
My favorite Austrian Jets fan right there, baby.
Boy Green
meets Woody. Welcome to another episode of Boy Green Meets Woody. It is your boy James Woody, and you already know we are Woody, rocking everywhere. And right here is the boy who became king. He's getting jiggy with it. Nah. He is none other than Paul Evden Jr. We are in the building. I'm excited. How are you doing, my guy?
The greatest hype man in the business. I always thought it was myself for myself, but you know what? The crown has been passed to the Woodinator, as I'm seeing it in the chat. So thank you, Woody, for the spectacular introduction. Old Yank says Woody is clearly feeling himself with a woo. He sure is. Aren't we all? Aren't we all, baby? So, yeah, like the video, hit subscribe no matter where you're watching, specifically on the YouTube. We're also on both of our Instagrams and my Twitter account as well. So, how you doing? To everybody out there in the audience, appreciate you. What a fun, 24, 36 hours this has been. So, it's crazy, Woody. Now, why don't we do this? Before we get to all the excitement, and there's a lot of it, we'll get to the sad part, which is sort of the nature of the beast here, Woody. Obviously with all these trades coming in, somebody had to be let go. And the Jets needed 2 roster spots for the 2 new players coming in. One was created, unfortunately, Chris Boyd, lost for the season, special teams ace, out for the year. So that spot obviously was one spot. And here was the other one earlier this morning. Phidarian Mathis was cut by the New York Jets. It hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but he did get cut. And just a quick shout out, I don't have to do a whole diatribe here about Phidarian, but former top 50 pick of the Commanders, Phil Savage, when he was on the job for 2 seconds, he didn't have much to do at the end of November, but he combed through the waiver wire, and there are 2 guys, one unfortunately not going to make the team in Phidarian Mathis, and the other is Jamin Davis, the linebacker, who has a real good shot at making the team. So, I want to give a big salute here to Phil Savage, man, finding these 2 guys. Salute. Absolutely. Phidarian, he's talented. It's just he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He made a few plays in camp, obviously not enough. And so with all the activity, 2 roster spots had to be created. One was Chris Boyd, and Phidarian Mathis is the other. But a lot more spots to be filled by Tuesday, Woody. That's our cut day. That's your scissor day that you'll be getting a lot of run for when we cut from 91 to 53. So that's going to be a lot of cutting happening. So it always sucks to see people get cut, lose their jobs, Woody, but obviously the nature of the beast.
Unfortunately, as the door opens for Jawan and Harrison, the door has closed for Phidarian and Chris. So nature of the beast. Wish them the best moving forward. And you already know we wishing Jawan and Harrison the best moving forward with the New York Jets. The wheeling and dealing of Darren Muji. If you guys, those of you watching on Take Flight Talk, I did respond to it last night when I seen the news on this channel. And I got some, you guys were commenting, showing some love for not only the move, but the channel. So I appreciate you guys on that. I you know me, and I said this last night. I am not the type to fluff up decisions just because the Jets made them. Oh, the Jets did this. Oh, okay, let's go, Jets. No. I don't do that. All right. If I disagree or if I think something is dumb, I say it time and time again. And this yesterday with what happened, I was excited. I approve. James Woody approves of the moves made by Darren Muji.
All right, well, let's give you a chance because I don't know how many shows you've done. I didn't know this was a pissing contest, but I've done several shows already on both players, so we can bring them up one at a time. First up, Mr. Briggs, who came over first. He was the first trade that was made, and all that happened here, Woodster, and I'll throw up the Jets trade graphic because this trade is official. It was just a swap, so the Jets are just picking a little bit later in 2026. They got a player out of it. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal to me. You didn't even give up a single pick in this deal for Juwan Briggs. So we'll start there. He's a young guy, too, only 23 years of age, Woody. And boy, PFF had him rated, I believe, as a top 10 run defender last year. Now, in fairness, very small sample size. But still, that sounds like exactly what the doctor ordered. So for this show, we definitely want to get, obviously, your thoughts on these two players because I've been yapping about it a lot. But Juwan Briggs, what do you think of him first?
Yeah, I mean, this one, and no disrespect to our guy Briggs, it didn't move the needle for me too much. I felt like, he was in the locker room of guys that we currently have, another body. This is a refresher one because he's 23. Like you said, small sample size. So this to me is more of the developmental type. What can AG get out of, the prospect as opposed to like, Derek Nottie, some of the veteran, Byron Coward, both of them, 29, they kind of, we kind of know who they are. And they, come to fill in. This is a potential type deal that for this year, I was like, okay, they made a move, and that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, I think to your point, I don't think we got to sauce up something that isn't there. I think he's a fine young rotational player. As defensive tackle 3, 4, 5, wherever he's going to stand in the mix. All right, good. From the limited sample size we saw, that's good news. Hey, I was concerned about the defensive tackle depth, candidly dating back since February. So, getting it here, better late than never, as far as I'm concerned. So, Juwan Briggs, welcome to the team. Now, he didn't necessarily have that name value. He was a former teammate of Sauce Gardner at Cincinnati in 2021. So, there's your random Jet loose connection that sort of exists, I guess. So, that's cool for Briggs. But, Woody, a little bit later in the evening, we thought old Muji was done cooking in the kitchen, and he surprised us all with a little dessert. Oh, my. And, boy, it might as well be called the entree, not because he's a fat guy, although, different strokes, different folks. But Harrison Phillips, man, and, I know that I am accused of going over the top for certain names and like, woo, here's this guy. To me, Harrison Phillips is that dude, man. He's a former team captain. He annoyed the bleep out of us when he was on the Bills. He was on the Bills for the first 4 years of his career. What an annoying nuisance. I hated playing against Harrison Phillips. And he's not a guy that's Aaron Donald. He has 8 career sacks in like 6-7 years that he's been in the league. So it's not like he's some dynamic guy from that perspective, but he's been consistently a really good run defender, especially recently. In 2 of the last 3 years, he had a 40+% run stop win rate. That's ESPN's analytics for measuring his ability to stop the run. And candidly, last year he fell off a little bit. He was like in the 35 to 33% range, but still viable. And he's been the starter for the Vikings. Think about this, Woody. We talk about durability all the time. He has started 51 consecutive games since he's become a member of the Minnesota Vikings. He's been their full-time starter for the last 3 years, and the Jets just got him because apparently the Vikings had too many defensive tackles. So this is the creme de la creme. All offseason we've been saying, who's the Robin Quinnen Williams Batman? Well, how you doing, Harrison? Because you are.
The only thing I didn't really like to hear right now is that durability stat that you just said about the 51, because now you got me all nervous, Boy Green. But just moving that out of my head. This is the reason why you guys saw a video from me last night, because finally, the Jets have added a defensive tackle next to Quinnen Williams. Boy Green just said that he was worried about this position since February. Guess what? So was I. We were talking Mason Graham, right? While, the Warren Warriors were out there, and, we talked about offensive tackle. We talked about Tet, right? Mason Graham was really, the consensus at one point. And for them to go through that whole draft, not even pick anybody up, like not even say, oh, let's take a chance on him in the 6th round, 7th round, and then sign guys who, apart from Nadi, we're talking about, what could be. This now we finally have somebody what is, and this is what he is. He is a starting tackle in this league, a run stopper in this league. Okay, so people who want to hate, I did see somebody say something, some hate in the comments. I can't remember who it was or what it was, but there's no reason to hate this. There's absolutely no reason. And let me tell you, if you did or if you do hate it, whoever wrote that comment, I mean, the Vikings are covering half his contract. We're talking about $3 million for a starting caliber tackle. You cannot beat that. You cannot beat that. This is a fantastic move financially and schematically. It's going to pay. The dividends are going to be off the charts. So I really think this was a really great move. I think, Boy Green, maybe you hyped up our guy a little bit, but he's a fantastic player. Like I said, a great Robin to Quinnen's Batman. I mean, like if Jermaine is Jermaine, and now we talking about Will, we talking about Quinnen, and now we talking about Harrison. Like, come on now, and we paying this man $3 million this year. I mean, that's a Darren Mucci masterclass.
And let me just say this: I was cool. So the initial report, right? Jets trade for Harrison Phillips. And I'm like, okay, let me look up a key I already knew of him. I remembered him in Buffalo. I knew he was in Minnesota. So I knew a bunch of the basic details, but I'm like, oh, what's his contract? I thought he got an extension recently. Oh, he did. 2 years, $15 million. Before I heard another word, I'm like, great, I'll take that deal. No problem. You want us to pay that? Fine. Then I hear the Vikings are paying half the salary. I'm like, oh my, okay. If you want to do that, I didn't ask, but okay. Sounds good to me. That's, to me, the thing that was really like a cherry on top, over the top exciting was like the money. And it also goes to show why you save your shekels in the bank, Woody, because, the Jets had, they've been like borderline top 10 in cap space like the last month and a half, 2 months or something, like since they made the decision of CJ Mosley and Aaron Rodgers would be post-June 1 cut designations. What that means is that both of those massive cap hits would be split up over 2 years. Now, we could talk about later whether or not that was a good decision or bad decision, but the decision happened, which means the Jets were going to get a surge of cap space on June 2nd. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of things available on June 2nd to use a bundle of money on, so the Jets have been sort of sitting on the pile of cash. I'm like, what's the plan here? What are they saving this for? Well, I guess this sort of day where Harrison Phillips' opportunity presents itself, and the Jets are in the unique position where they could take, in this case, half, but even they could have taken the full thing potentially with the contract to make it work. So, man, this was exciting. Here's a trivia question. Well, you may already know this. You may have seen me say this on another show. Do you know how many defensive tackles? Were drafted in April? Do you know?
Oh, damn. I have no idea. What?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, it just came up with the Jets, and here's why. So 30 defensive tackles were drafted in April. That was the most since 1994 when we instituted the 7-round draft. Basically, what that fancy stat just says is the defensive tackle class was really strong and really deep. It was supposed to be a really good unit. The Jets, what was it again? How many did they draft? None. 0. Zip and pip. And a lot of us were like, what the hell? Not even one? And then, like, after the draft, Darren Mucci had some very weird answers like, well, I know there was a lot. You just said 30, but, when you go through our process, you cut down the numbers and a kerfluffle and a blah, 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 and we didn't do it. And reporters were like, oh, okay. Wait, what? Like, he didn't really give a real good reason why they didn't, which seemed odd. But credit the New York gosh darn Jets for this. To be able to pivot. People don't like admitting mistakes in their normal lives, let alone football. The Jets thought they were good enough, apparently, at defensive tackle. They came to a realization during training camp, I don't think we're good at defensive tackle. We need to do something. This isn't good enough. And credit them for being aggressive and getting it done. I think Juwan Briggs is going to be a fine rotational defensive tackle. He'll be defensive tackle 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that group. He's making the team. And I think Harrison Phillips is your brand new starter right next to Quentin Williams. He's going to be playing a lot of snaps. I think this is terrific. And according to Snowball, Woody, he called my morning show this morning. He was at the final training camp public practice yesterday. And I said, hey, if you got time, and I didn't know if he was going to follow through on it, call into the show and share your observations because we don't get to see unless we're at camp. And he said Jermaine Johnson looks like he never left. Like he looks better, bigger, faster, stronger. And he was participating in team reps. And apparently on a couple of the team drills at the end, he had multiple strip sacks. So we think our offensive line is halfway decent. So, man, that sounds terrific on Jermaine Johnson. So that's really exciting. So that's what I would say is that the Jets pivoted. They thought this. They're like, we're good at defensive tackle. And obviously they weren't. And they made that correction. I wish they would have made the correction, quite frankly, bluntly, a couple months earlier. But better late than never. I'll take it 2 weeks before the season.
And that's how you truly know. Like if there's a lot of things, you could think, how, you can listen to this person, that person. If Boy Green and James Woody are in lockstep on something, it's a good move. It's a good move. Because I completely agree. Would I have done this months or would I have addressed this position in April? Yes. All right. A few months ago. Yes. Literally any time this year. Yes. Okay. But the fact that they thought one way and pivoted and said, okay, I don't know what we were thinking. We bucking and got these two guys in, that deserves to be commended because, and I hate criticizing the previous regime just for the sake of criticizing, but that was one of their biggest problems. Was that they would make no move. They would be like, nah, don't worry, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. There was no adjustment. I know all of us were sick when Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, and we already knew that this dude wasn't the guy. That's why we got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers goes down, and now they're trying to convince us that he's the guy. They didn't try to go out and get somebody. So just craziness like that has been eradicated from this regime, and that helps me sleep better at night. I mean, this regime, I feel like they've been cooking, these last couple of months. Like I said, I have not been a fan of all their decisions. I highly and intensely criticized the not drafting a tackle, but this is a nice way for them to apologize to me. That's how I took it. That they apologized. I'm sorry, James Woody. I'm sorry, Boy Green. We lost our cool. We didn't know what was going on. Now we know. And you know what, Darren Muji? I accept your apology.
I do too. I accept the apology now that there's something else behind it. Like I look over his shoulder as I'm shaking his hand or slapping for the slap and dap, and I'm doing one of these. Pah, pah, and I'm like looking over his shoulder. Oh, Harrison Phillips. Okay, he's walking through the building. Okay, yeah, Muji. We cool. And we cool. So hell yeah. But Woody talked about it. You hinted at it in the cold open. There may be more moves to make. So 2 things here. Let's do a quick double dip, if we may, on what's going on here. And it's twofold here that I want to get here. First off, I believe I've got this here from Diana Rossini, NFL, or not NFL Network, excuse me, The Athletic. She tweeted out yesterday that the Jets are among several teams monitoring the trade market for potential wide receiver additions. She mentioned that the 49ers and Vikings are also making calls. The 49ers apparently checked off their bucket list getting Sky Moore. Ugh, he sucks, but that's all right. They're off the list. So now we've got the Jets and Vikings among a few other teams that apparently are looking for a wide receiver. And Woody, a name has been buzzing in whispers, not quite like Terry McLaurin or crazy ass names like that, but this name, Alec Pierce, I'm throwing him up here. The Indianapolis Colts wide receiver, also another former Sauce Gardner teammate on Cincinnati. I don't know if that does anything for you, but that happened. Here's from Andrew Filipponi. He's a radio host down in Pittsburgh, and somehow he heard this. Colts wide receiver Alec Pierce is on the block. He's in the final year of his contract, led the NFL in yards per catch, had 8 touchdowns this past season, and he advocated for the Steelers to make this call. He would be a legitimate number 2, and he threw out a Steelers package he would throw. This feels like the more appropriate name. I know Terry McLaurin is sexy, and we talked about Chris Olave. I brought up Jameson Williams as a guy I'd make an aggressive play for. If I was running the shop, I'm not one of the Packers wide receivers. You could go through a lot of names, but this is a sneaky one that doesn't have a lot of name value around the league, but would be effective for sort of what the Jets are looking for, it seems.
This isn't if they made this move, I wouldn't be mad. Shout out to my guy Matt O'Leary. He had a video. I want to say it was yesterday.
Okay.
Where he talked about Alec Pierce. And he talked about the guy that I would prefer over Alec Pierce, who I'm about to bring up. But before I bring him up,
sure.
I'll say with Pierce, we're looking at a deep threat. We're looking at a deep threat guy, which is what all you guys are, trying to say that Aaron Smith is.
Sure.
So to just trade an asset and bring in this guy, I actually don't think it complements what the Jets are looking for at all. Like, I feel like we are getting somebody who would impede Arians' climb.
Impede.
Yeah.
I just like that word. I just wanted to highlight it. Impede.
Okay. Yeah. Impede his climb up the depth chart, right? If you believe in Arian, you don't need Alec Pierce. But the guy who I do think would be beneficial, and with Terry and Olave, you have to commit a lot to them on a team that doesn't, have a consensus long-term answer at quarterback, which is why I don't want to do that. Give me Romeo Doubs. Like, if you're worried about this year, right? You're like, Fields, a tight end, and Garrett Wilson, and 3 incredible running backs, and the league's top 10 offensive line isn't good enough. Like, he needs something else. Then okay, Romeo Doubs is a guy that is effective all over the field. Where he's played outside for the Packers, he's been inside for the Packers as they keep adding more and more receivers. So he is much more flexible. I think he fits what the Jets are looking for because he can do so many different things, and they can come up with so many more different looks with Dobbs out there. And from a financial standpoint, or the capital standpoint, I don't think he's going to break the bank. I think this is another low round pick, and I wouldn't extend him this year. That would make no sense. This is now your 1 year prove it deal is with us. And if that gets you paid somewhere else, so be it. But we got to take for what we're trying to accomplish right now in terms of this wide receiver too. I don't think the long-term answer is going to be found this year. I think we're looking for a rental to help out Fields, and I think Romeo Doubs is the best given the personnel on the team.
Okay, Romeo Doubs. Okay, that's an interesting name. Here's my problem with Romeo Doubs. Okay, there's a lot to like, Woody. You mentioned he's 25.
I didn't mention that, but he is.
He is. He's 25. But here's the thing. Here's my problem with Romeo Doubs. Did you know he's been suspended before?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like fantasy. Yeah, I probably had to deal with that.
He was suspended for conduct detrimental to the team after skipping team meetings and practices. Why did he do this? Well, Romeo Doubs apparently was upset with his role in the offense and the limited opportunities he received in the passing game, which led him to going on strike, I guess, and skipping meetings and practice. That kind of energy. We're trying to build a foundation here. And if you get a questionable brick on the house, that as you're stacking these bricks, you're like, whoa, this brick's a little shaky. I'm sure it'll be fine. And you keep stacking to build in your house, that bad brick could come back to bite you in the keister. So that's the part that kind of scares me about a Romeo Doubs. If he was complaining in Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur passing land over there about not getting enough ops, and he's coming here to Justin Fields Jetsland, who you've been very open about his consistency in throwing a football. Well, that might be a right combination, I think, in a bad way.
Yeah. Well, so like what you said, this is not a foundational block. There are no blocks going above this block. A lot of times, and a change of scenery is all what somebody needs. Like for example, our guy, maybe not your guy, but Elijah Moore, right? I got his jersey back there, right? That's unfortunately like one of the jerseys I got back there. Yeah. He said that. Has he been barking ever since? He hasn't been barked,
but he hasn't been producing either.
I mean, he was. Well, first of all, the Browns, passing game has been horrific. But I mean, but my point is that he has not been barking. The boy has not been barking. You worried about? I'm saying changing scenery. He has been, he's been chill. Romeo Dobbs. I'm not, and hey, like I said, changing scenery is a lot of things. I think he was coming in there. They was telling him, "Oh, Romeo, number one." Now all of a sudden, you got Jaden Reed over there. Now all of a sudden, Christian Watson's healthy. There's a lot of confusion. Sometimes there could be a coach. Sure. Well, Matthew Golden was not there last year.
No, so I'm just saying that if he's having problems, and now you've had a first-round receiver for the first time in 25 years.
Yes, that's definitely. So that's what I'm saying. So all I'm saying is talent-wise and what we'd have to give up, Dobbs to me makes the most sense. If we talk about, him having beef with Matt LaFleur, sorry. If he's having beef with Matt LaFleur, hey, Matt LaFleur is Matt LaFleur and AG is AG. That's an AG answer for you. All right. That's what it is. Bring him over here and it's all good. Get coached up. And I think sometimes people get pigeonholed for no reason, just one incident and now we got he's 25, like you said, what I'm saying, is that who he's going to be the rest of his career? Okay, this one incident with Matt LaFleur in this situation, we don't know the details, and now you're saying, oh well, he can't go anywhere because he's going to cause problems wherever he goes. And that's why I bring up Elijah Moore, is that sometimes you're in a specific scenario, you're young, you're feeling some type of way, things happen, and then outside that scenario, different things happen. So I'm not worried about that one bit. But what I am thinking is that a cheap, and once again, I'm not trying to extend any receiver long term that is acquired by a deal.
I'll tell you this. You just confirmed something that I know I made the right decision in Boy Green Meets Woody. You want to know why? Something you just said just made me feel so good. Is if I kill somebody and I need somebody to help me hide a body, Woody, you're gonna help. You're gonna be like, "Hey, everyone makes mistakes. No worries. All right, where are we burying this thing? All right, throw it in the trunk and let's go." Malachi Corley, come on, man. Everyone makes mistakes. Romeo Dobbs, what's the big deal? Come on. We've all said fuck you to our boss before. It's just you know what? I love that about you, Woody, that you know what? You're my ride or die. We are burying bodies. We're doing whatever it takes for the team. That's so commendable. That's beautiful, actually, because there's so many people in America that's supposed to be all about second chances. There's a lot of people who aren't. Woody, you're second, third, fourth, fifth, quadruple chance. You're all in, baby. And I love that. That's really cool. I would also say this, sure, should Malachi Corley be stoned to death because he happened to carelessly throw the football behind him before going to the end zone? No. Should Romeo Dobbs, because he started skipping some practices and being an immature 24, 23-year-old, whenever this happened, he's 25 now, should he be stoned to death? No. But I think that stuff's on your resume. And you may say, well, that's not fair. Well, shit, life isn't fair, man. You are responsible for the decisions you make, and those will forever be there. Now, what Romeo can do is, if that's one bad brick and one bad situation, stack other good bricks. Hey, I've got one shitty brick, but look, there's 15 good bricks right here. Huh? Now, you don't have to forget the thing I did, but I did a lot of other really good things to show you that I'm not that guy. And that's what would be the ownership for Corley, Romeo Dobbs, Elijah Moore, even all those guys. That's how I would handle it if I was in Elijah Moore's position, or Romeo Dobbs, or any of these. That I can't change what happened before, but hopefully I could do a lot of other really good stuff that makes you go, okay, this guy's a changed man.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no argument with that. Like, definitely not saying, erase from the record. Like you said, I think you said it nice. Like, it's on the resume, but again, like, whether it's a headline or a bullet point is up to him, and as of right now, that's the name that I've heard. That's the name that I like the most of the names that I've heard. And really it's the names that I've been hearing have been those right. So Alec Pierce, Romeo Dobbs, of course, sure. Olave and McLaurin. And the other one I heard was Juwan Jennings, who I didn't even know Scott Moore just went there. So I know that's another mouth to feed as he's looking for an extension. But I don't want to extend any of these guys. I would prefer to either, draft a receiver, especially with this new regime, the scout-oriented regime. If they find a guy that they like. I mean, Arian Smith, we're going to see what they do with Arian Smith. If they can develop a wide receiver too, that would be great. Or sign like someone better. You know what I'm saying? Like next year. So I do not want – so with that being said, so that's why like Terry and Olave and Jawan for me are all off the board because that's their beef is that they literally are wanting the extension. That would be like trading for Hassan Reddick again.
Well, here's the other thing, right? So I don't know this. You don't know this. None of us know this. Romeo Dobbs is entering the last year of his deal. How's he feeling? Alec Pierce was just brought up. He's entering the last year of his deal. Are they like, hey, thanks for trading for me, money? Or is it going to be one of those situations like George Pickens? Unless I'm mistaken, someone correct me. I don't believe he got an immediate extension, which means that he's set up like, hey, man, if I ball out, Cowboys, you gave up some assets for me. You're going to have to pay me the bag. It's in a different way. Jamal Adams getting traded from the Jets to the Seahawks. They didn't pay him immediately. So he said, oh, okay. And then he kills it. And he's like, $1 billion. And they're like, what? We're not paying you $1 billion. He's like, all right, I'm walking. Fine, we'll pay $1 billion. And they said new highest paid safety in football. So that's the risk of not paying, but also the concern of some of these other guys we're talking about. Maybe they're immediately going to want the bag. And if we're like, whoa, we didn't sign up for that. Neither did Reddick. And then all of a sudden that started flipping out. So I don't know if Dobbs or Pierce or any of these guys, they're in the last year of his deals. And you're right, Woody, you say you don't want to pay him beyond this year. Okay, well, we better establish that in the trade negotiations because I don't want any of that crap happening around this time.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Because Reddick and the other three receivers, I said, like, they have made it known to their organizations they need an extension. To my knowledge, Dobbs and Pierce have not. And like you said, with Pickens, like that's a common thing is that guys, they're just ready to play out their contracts and they worry about it next year. So if we get someone like that, that's only to our benefit. And like, I highly doubt Dobbs, Pierce, anyone that we put like of that caliber, what kind of season are they going to have that, now we got to break the bank. So I probably wouldn't pay them either way. But even if they did, like are they going to have 1,000 yards? Is Justin Fields about to produce 2 different 1,000-yard receivers? Like, yeah, that's not happening. So like, especially with Mason Taylor in the, so yeah, I'm cool with Dobbs. If there's another name of that caliber, we can talk about that as well. But definitely not Terry or Olave. And Pierce is fine. But if you're a fan of Arian Smith, I like Arian Smith. I think that's an Arian Smith depleter.
If we're being honest, anyone that comes in is going to be like if we bring in Jamison Williams, that's my dream target. How is that? That's depleting Arian. Chris Olave is depleting Arian. Terry McLaurin's depleting Arian. Any of those guys, because naturally, just sort of like Harrison Phillips coming in, every other defensive tackle on the roster went at least one rung lower, if not completely kicked off the roster. So I think a lot of the receivers the Jets would even consider outside of like an inconsequential 5th or 6th guy. And then at that point, why are you even making the deal? If you're asking yourself, who's better, Tyler Johnson, this random person we're talking about, then maybe you shouldn't make the deal. It should be if you think that guy can really make an impact in some way and give you a little bit more reliability there, the wide receiver 2 conversation. So I think really no matter who you bring in, quite frankly, with all due respect to Arian, it's probably a hit to Arian and whatever he's going to bring to the team.
Well, if you get like a possession guy, because Arian has a specific skill set, he's a deep threat. That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't. I don't think that is how that works. I think you get a possession guy, you can still get Arian Smith on the field with Garrett and a possession receiver. But if you have just deep threats, then like if we had Hollywood Brown, then I'm like, damn, I think that does move Arian, because you got receivers with different skill sets.
Well, let's ask this: how many receivers do you think are making the roster next week?
Six, seven.
Okay, somewhere in that range, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for folks who don't know, there is a 53-man roster, which is the active roster. That's the roster you get. But on game days, you get 48. So 5 players are inactive, which means you don't get the full squad, which means the Jets have to make business decisions at positions like wide receiver, which we saw with Corley. And like a few times, he was a healthy scratch. Went, yeah, you'll be inactive this week. Yeah, you'll be inactive this week. If you add another guy, regardless of possession, deep threat, this or that, Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, this new guy, and you start going through the numbers, all of a sudden that's why I'm saying I get what you're saying with stylistically. Arian Smith can do this guy can do this. They're different. But there's only so many receivers you're going to make active game day players. If that guy comes in, that could be a depleter because Arian might not get on the field in that case.
That's true.
All right, and let's end here, Woody. Let's end here. Let's do one more here. We got the preseason game tomorrow. It's a preseason finale. It's New York Jets. It's Philadelphia Eagles. So let's wrap up there. It looks like most of, as we found out in a wave of different ways on Tuesday, that most of the starters are not going to play in this game. What do you want to see? What are you hoping to get out of this game? Jets Eagles preseason finale, the final game before we're talking Jets Steelers.
Definitely want to see. I feel like this goes back to the first game. I'm talking about penalties. So I want to see, what's the word? Discipline. Sorry. Yeah. I want to see some discipline out of this team. And then that run game, that's the thing. Like, and I said it with the Salah era, is like the defensive line, all 4 quarters were menacing. Like, that's how we knew, like, oh, damn, the defensive line is going to be great. It's deep. And it was for those years. I want to see the offensive line, first, second, third, fourth quarter, guys who will not be on the team on Tuesday out here, just creating holes because of the Tanner Engstrand and Aaron Glenn offense. That is what I want to see. And that will give you the most confidence since it's pretty much been decided that this is a, run heavy offense. Fields, we haven't seen him move the ball too much. So, okay, let's see the depth of the most important unit on this team.
All right, do you want my thoughts on Jets Eagles? Well, too damn bad you're going to have to wait till tomorrow, baby. The Jets Eagles game day preview show coming up with Bob Lederer tomorrow morning for Boy Green Daily. And immediately after the final whistle, we'll have a post-game show to be myself and Gunny Gumby. He makes his return to the Boy Green YouTube airwaves. He'll be with me breaking down the game. We'll be taking your phone calls tomorrow night, seconds after the final whistle. So looking forward to that. Woody, fun week. This is it for preseason. Next week, Tuesday's roster cuts. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, we're going to be Jets Steelers in full game mode on a week-to-week basis.
That is so exciting. We've made it. We have made it, man. All right. All the silence of the summer and all that. We are back now and better than ever, hopefully.
Yes, yeah, we will go in the car. I promise. All right. Well, that about wraps it up there. Is it right? Do you want to say something? Here you go. Sure. Here. You want to say bye?
Rocking the Jets green.
Yeah, there you go. You want to say bye right here?
Bye.
I love you and thank you for kissing the microphone. So that's blowing kisses. Thanks, honey. Okay, yeah, you can take your Bobo, I guess. You're not supposed to have that, but we'll talk about that later, honey. Anywho, well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We have 400 people in the room. Please make sure you like the video and hit subscribe. That's the way to support the show. I've got 400 people on my side, plus whatever Woody has on his side on his 2 channels, because we stream live through 5 different destinations. So if you guys are watching, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, whether it's live or after the fact, and shout out as well to all the Instagram peeps. I see you guys in there as well. Thank you very much for watching the show. Again, we'll have all your pregame game day coverage tomorrow and postgame coverage all day tomorrow here on the Boy Green YouTube channel. And, of course, all kinds of Jets talk happening on Take Flight Talk. Woody,
Hey.
appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on now. It's going to be a great time. Let's go, Jets.
There you go. Okay.